All right. Happy Sunday, viewers. I am author Siera London, and along with my co host, writer Michelle Ingrid. Hi, Michelle. And author Jackie Renee. We are Women on Words. How are you ladies doing?
I'm well. Doing well.
Jackie, can you hear us okay?
Uh-oh.
Oh, Jackie might be frozen, y'all. Not sure. So, anyway, the third Sunday of the month is Book Chat, our book club. And for September, we read Naima Simone's The Road to Rose Bend. Yay, look at that beautiful cover. So, I
Mm-hmm.
am going to
Mm-hmm.
read the black cover copy, and then we're going to get started on our discussion. So this is what it says. If it was only about her, she might never have come back to Rose Bend. But it's not only about her anymore. Sydney Collins left the small Berkshire's town of Rose Bend 8 years ago, grieving her sister's death and heartbroken over her parents' rejection. But now the rebel is back, newly divorced and pregnant, ready to face her fears and make her home for her child in the caring community she once knew. The last thing she needs is trouble, but trouble just set her body on fire with one hot, hot smile. I'm not done yet. Let
Ooh,
me keep
girl.
going. Widower and Rose Bend Mayor Coltrane Dennison hasn't smiled in ages until a chance run in with Sidney Collins, who's all grown up and making him want what he knows he can't have. Grief is his only connection to the wife and son he lost, and he won't give it up. Not for Sydney, not for her child, not for his
Mm-hmm.
heart. But when Sydney's ex threatens to upend everything she's built in Rose Bend, Cole and Sydney must find that a little trouble will take them where they never expected to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, y'all. Um, I'm sure Jackie will
Jackie
pop
has
back
fallen
in.
off, so hopefully she'll pop back in.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll pop back in. So I must tell you, my first impression of the road to Rose Bend is I don't know if I felt this much emotion for a hero and a heroine in a book in a very long time.
Yes.
Um, Usually I'll connect with one more than the other, but for this particular book, the way Naima crafted the hero and the heroine, the journey that they're both on is so emotional that it's like you can't help but empathize with both of them and connect to both their pains.
Mm-hmm.
That's my first impression. What was your first impression, Michelle?
Um, Same. Okay,
Okay.
so the book opens with this character. I love the fact that she opens talking about the fact that there's no place like home and that Dorothy didn't know what she was talking about. Um, so I loved that. And I love the fact that the first time we see the hero and the heroine, they are in the graveyard. She's visiting her sister's grave. Her sister's been gone for about 18 years, and he's visiting the grave of his wife and son who died in childbirth.
Yes.
And we've got a pregnant character who has returned home, and she is the first person she meets is a man grieving the loss of a wife and
Yeah.
child. So that right off right off the top just set off just sparks. And I have to say, now before I can go any further, can I just say that Naima Simone might be the wizard of all things wordful because she grabs you. Her writing grabs you. I
Beautiful.
felt as though I was walking down the streets of Rose Bend the
Yes.
moment I walked into this book. This book is extremely visually evocative. Um, it's visually stunning in that I feel as though I've been to this place. I've been to this town. These people, the streets, the the layout is so clear. She's so masterful in the way that she grabs you and puts you into the story that I did not put the book down. I think I read through the first 75% of the book in one sitting.
Yeah.
It was
Yes.
masterfully done.
I would say the same. This is a story world that she's created that Rose Ben is a character in and of itself. And
So
and
strong.
and the heroine Sydney sets you up for what she got from Rose Ben growing up
Hmm. Hmm.
and what she wanted for her child. Like I read in the opening, it's not about her anymore. And I love what Naima did with this story. Like you said, it opens with the heroine in behind the church,
Hmm.
at the cemetery where her sister is buried. Her sister died as a very young teenager, and she's telling you about her experience in Rose Bend. And I'll tell y'all, and and I'm not going to give a lot away, but Rose Bend, even though it's a beautiful place, it didn't always treat our heroine in a beautiful way.
No,
Okay.
no.
But what I love about the heroine is that she's able to see all the possibilities that this town could be for her child.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so, even though I don't want to say it was a cruel place to her, but it wasn't the nicest place, even though it's beautiful and it's safe and it's so very picturesque. And I mean, this quaint little town, and I don't know if I've seen a town this vivid since maybe Robin Carr's Virgin River,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it kind
I
of,
did feel like that. They kind of put you in a headspace. Yeah,
yes, and even
it's
though,
bigger.
yeah, um, Robin Carr's Virgin River is more idyllic in its, in its characterization. Rose Bend, it's got some, it's got some not so nice people, some not so friendly people, some snarky people. But the
It's
way this
real. It
character,
feels real.
yes, it's very real. But the way this character sees this as a safe haven, not so much for her, but for her child, was very intriguing to me. And you know that from the very first chapter, like
Yeah,
so much happens in the first chapter when you meet Sydney, and then she runs into Cole, because what happens is she sees Coltrane, and I love his name.
I do.
uh she sees Coltrane in the cemetery also, but she doesn't immediately recognize him.
No, she does not. But she's been gone for 10 years.
Yes, she has been gone
Yeah,
a
she's been
very
gone
long
10 years.
time. And their initial greeting, when he sees her, he like embraces her. And it was interesting what Naima did with this embrace, because being a military wife, military family, we're gone a lot. And we come home, and it's so nice for people to see you, and it's like, oh, hey, Siera, it's so good to see you. You've been gone a long time. But when Cole embraces Sydney, y'all, it opens a floodgate
She's
of
smelling him.
where this pregnant woman is in her emotional state. And
Hmm.
she goes
Hmm.
all the way back to, like, it's so nice to be touched and to be welcomed. And it gives you an idea of maybe what she left behind in North
Yes,
Carolina. uh,
yes.
what are your thoughts on that initial, like, not just seeing each other, but when he touches her, and
So it
yes.
says a lot because we have already established that we have a pregnant character who
Mhm.
had a one night stand with her ex husband, which is by
Bad
far
girl,
so brilliant. So
bad
she had
girl.
this one night stand with her ex husband, and she um, got pregnant, not expecting it. And even in that, she was like wanting to be held in touch. She was lonely, and their
Mhm.
lonely night ended up in a night together. So now we have that. And then we have the fact that this woman who has decided that she had the option of being back in a relationship with her ex-husband. He wanted to get remarried and she
Yes.
was like, nope. And she ran for the hills. And it's funny because that kind of leads into my first question for this. What did you think about Sydney's decision to leave her ex-husband Daniel and to return home to Rose Bend after getting pregnant? Like, she makes the decision, I'm not even going to stay in this town where my ex-husband is. I am moving on to this next town. I thought that was an interesting decision. So what did you think of that?
Um, Sydney is a very interesting character to me in that she comes from a two-parent home. She
Mm-hmm.
got married
Mm-hmm.
young. She's 26 when the book opens, and she was
She's a
married for
baby.
5 years. So she was married, like, technically most of her adult life. She's
To an
been
older
married,
gentleman.
yes, to an older gentleman, but not like super. Oh,
Not
I think he's
seriously older, but
35.
older than her.
Yeah, he's 9 years older than her, if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mistaken. But what's interesting to me to have this young woman who grew up in a two-parent household in a town that she obviously adores, who got married very early on, is how lonely she is.
Very, very lonely. And she doesn't
It-
return
her-
home to friends.
yeah, she
Yeah.
is very lonely. And then even in her loneliness, the only person that she can really reach back to feel like this physical need is not another man, it's her soon to be ex-husband or ex-husband, that when she has an emotional need, she has to go back to this man that she knows is so wrong for her. Like, she knows that this man, um even though, and this is something else Naima did that's brilliant, she married a man who is very squared away professionally. She has everything tangibly that she could want, and yet
Mhm.
emotionally she's totally deprived. And what I love about that is, I think for women in our culture, in Western culture, like you would say, Sydney, you got it all. Girl, you got a good man. He's faithful. He's not cheating on her. You got
Mm-mm.
a good man.
Nope.
He's faithful. He got a good job. He go to work. He
He
come
talked too
home.
much.
And if you want something, you can have it. But if you want to connect with him, you don't have it. And so, like, it's an interesting place to be, because at first you're like, so why did she leave again?
Right, but
Like,
you know what's also interesting? She makes it very clear, which I thought was very mindful of Naima for the character's age. She
mhm,
makes it very clear that she didn't even ask for anything. She didn't know how. She can't
mhm.
say that. She's even at one point says, I can't say that Daniel quieted me. I silenced myself. I stopped
Yes,
asking. And I thought it was very interesting because the first initiation into the idea that a man marries a woman who's 10 years his junior is that she's the kind of woman that is asking him for things. Because isn't that our first thought? Oh, yeah, he must be
she gold
financially set.
digger.
She wants his money. She wants
Mhm.
his this. She wants his that. And here we have this woman who asks for nothing, which
Yeah,
says so much about her.
it does.
Um, and she never ever initiates any idea that he is not the kind of man that would provide for her and the
Yes.
child. And yet we have a situation where she runs. She does not want him to provide in the sense of being a day-to-day dad. And
Mhm.
she never in any way says that he wouldn't be good at that, except to say that it was primarily about what he's
Yes.
doing.
Yes.
Hmm.
But I love that, that she recognizes what her needs are,
Mm.
and that even though she's married, her husband is not interested in meeting her needs. And there's a point in the story where this kind of slaps her in the face. Let me put my hand down. But it kind of slaps her but it kind of slaps her in the face, because they're at a function, they're at an event that's associated with his job,
Hmm.
and they introduce her as his wife, not
Yes.
Sydney, not
Dr.
like,
Daniel
it was
Pearson and his
his
wife.
wife.
That's it.
That's it.
Her only identity.
Nothing else to be said. And she
Hmm.
was like, I have, in the 5 years I've been with this man, like, I have totally lost myself. And she's a professional woman, y'all. She's a
Hmm.
professional woman. She has a career. She's very successful at what she does. She's good at what she does. And for him, she doesn't bring anything to the table.
He's not controlling. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she works for a living, but he doesn't want any of her money. I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was probably the most interesting thing about Daniel, is the
Yeah.
fact that he has a wife who is working, and while he provides for her, he is serious about the fact that I provide for you. Like, he doesn't want
Yeah.
anything to do with the money that she's earning outside of the house, which is why she has this very comfortable nest egg
It
to go
is.
home with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she doesn't need to work for at least a year, she says, because she's got this very comfortable nest egg. I thought that was very telling, that he's not even keeping track of the money that she has. Like,
Mm-mm.
you don't. She literally doesn't exist in this
Yes. Right.
relationship. She's just there, but
Yeah.
nothing about her exists.
Right. And I.
Um,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think it's interesting. Like, you're in a marriage, which should be a partnership, right? We're working together
Mm-hmm,
to build a life,
mm-hmm.
but your husband wants nothing that you have to offer. He wants you to accept what he gives
I know,
and be happy about it
and she can't be,
and move on with life.
and she
And
can't
she
be.
says it's not enough.
Which he doesn't understand.
He
Like,
is
most women
totally
would give
clueless.
everything. I also thought, and I don't know if she did this on purpose, but I also thought it was very interesting that we have this Upper East Coast woman who moves to the South with this Southern gentleman
Hmm.
who is all about providing for her. This is a woman's dream.
Hmm.
And that is like, we get a very Upper East Coast attitude from her, this sense of, I need X, Y, and Z. I need to be a working woman. I need to have what I do matter. I need to be acknowledged in my efforts.
Yes.
Um, you know, it's the
Okay.
whole nine. I'm so sorry.
I hear something in the background. No, you're so right. So moving on from when we meet Sydney,
Hmm.
let's talk about Coltrane Dennison.
Okay,
So take it away.
let's talk about Cole. First of all, we have this. She evokes this image of this tall, like caramel colored Puerto Rican man with
Dark.
dark curly
Yeah.
hair that's not there. But yet,
Yeah.
when you think of him, do you not think about this man with dark curly hair?
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Um, I thought that was very interesting. I thought it was interesting that the first time we see this man, we see him in an active role of grief.
Grieving. Hmm.
Um, and that was the hardest part. It was like, watching a man in grief is hard enough. Watching this man in grief, the first time she sees him, the first time she runs into him, he is standing at that grave. I think he might even have tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I his grief was very, I don't even want to use the word taxing,
Hmm.
but his grief was quite heavy because we saw it so quickly. His
Yes.
grief was heavy.
Hmm.
But ooh, I have this, she evoked this beautiful image of this man that you're like, ooh, like,
Yes. Yes.
Jackie, what did you think of the image that she created for Cole?
When you first meet him at the cemetery. Okay, I'm not sure if Jackie can hear us. So what I will say is Cole's initial reaction to Sydney. Okay, first of all, he hugged her. Remember, I told you how significant that was to her? Y'all, we don't find out to the next chapter how significant it was to him in a very physical way. Okay, that is not what I was expecting. I thought he had ran for another reason. I thought it was emotional. I had no idea that little Woody had come out to play, and that's why Cole was like,
You might be terrible. Okay. Yes, he
like
has a very sexual reaction to
action
her.
to
And she
touching
sort
her.
of does too. Like, she has this very, like, ooh, he smells so good. And I mean, that was quite the thing.
Yes.
Like, he has a very strong reaction. And he's so, I love how conflicted he is. I mean, he's at
Hmm.
his wife's grave. He steps away from his wife and son's grave. And I thought what was even more interesting is we don't just get that his wife and child died in childbirth. He names his son. We hear his
Yeah.
son's name. It is used, it is said so many
I
times.
know,
Yes.
Mateo. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that also makes it harder because here you have a man who was married, very happily married to his high school sweetheart. They have this home, they have this
Hmm.
life together. She's pregnant,
Yep.
and on what should be the happiest day of his life, he
Yep.
loses not only his child,
Yep.
but he loses his wife. And
Yep.
this child had already been named for like both families. And I mean, it was overwhelming when
His
I
grief
found out.
is heavy.
It
His grief
is.
is
It
very
is.
heavy. And I won't lie, I went after I finished the book, I went and looked at what people were saying. I love seeing what people say about these books. And for quite a few readers, that grief, the weight of that grief was too much for them. Excuse
Yeah.
me, in the story. So I'm curious, do you put this book is definitely solidly in a romance, but it's also pretty solidly in a women's fiction. So where did it rest for you?
Yeah. For me, I would definitely, it was a romance for me.
Mhm. Mhm.
But if you like your romance where the characters are so well developed and you learn so much of their journey outside of the relationship,
Yeah.
outside of the
Mhm.
bedroom,
Mhm.
this is the book for you
Mhm.
because every character is vivid. So I want to go back to the scene when we meet Cole
Mhm.
and then Cole's brother,
I love
uh,
this family. Let me just put it
Wolfgang.
out there. We
Okay, his
love the
parents,
family.
his okay. So did we say that Cole was had been adopted by his
We did
parents'
not
best friends?
mention
So
that.
I
Yes.
think this is important to note because Cole is in a blended family, what I would call a blended
Mhm.
family, in
Mhm.
that several of the children have been adopted and
Mhm.
they're different races, different genders.
Mhm.
So it's a very unique family situation
Yes.
that he's in,
Yes.
even more so in that his parents, who passed away, best friends of his parents actually took him in and raised him.
So they were family before he
Yes, they were
became
family
family. So
before
that
they
was always
were a
interesting.
family. Yeah,
Yes.
before they took
Yes.
him in.
And he has like a sibling who's like a few months
2 weeks older than him,
older.
Wolfgang.
Older. Yes. Wolfgang is just like they're like the
Yes,
same age.
yes.
Yes, which
So,
is very interesting.
and
Yeah.
I love that the kids are named for musicians. Sonny and Cher,
Okay,
Wolfgang,
that was
Beethoven.
hilarious.
I
When
laugh.
the children decided they wanted to be called Sonny and Cher, that was hilarious. I was like, that's brilliant.
Okay, so Mr. Awesome couldn't stop laughing. He could not laugh because we listened to this book together, so he could not stop laughing. So Coltrane is Wolfgang is a brother, and he's 2 weeks older than Cole.
And don't
And
forget Leontine.
yes, okay, who's the sister, and they call her Leo.
Leo.
And so there are quite a bit of names to remember. So I'll just throw that out there, okay? Because Cole's got two sets of parents, pretty much.
Yes.
And
And he has his former in-laws
yes, and he
who
also has
his former mother-in-law, I love her.
yes.
Love her.
Yes. So let's go to the scene because what I like about his brother, who's two
Mhm.
weeks older, Wolfgang, is how insightful he is into Cole after Cole's meeting with Sydney. And
Yes.
because Wolfgang is the man of mans, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I remember little Sydney with her
Sex.
fine behind." And he's like,
Yes.
"Ooh, she was in high school," and he was like,
He's like she was 18.
18. Okay, she was 18, so I can't comment on her hind parts. And so his brother,
Unapologetically
yes,
talking about how attractive she was.
she is, and she came back to town not only pregnant but prettier. I mean, everybody is
And
commenting,
finer. Yes.
yes, of how
Yes.
gorgeous Sydney is.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and I love that. Sydney doesn't spend a lot of time telling you what she looks like, but
Mhm.
other people you can tell in their reaction to her
Yes. Yes.
how very attractive she is physically attractive she is.
And that's interesting because this character, Sydney Collins, has what is considered a bad reputation. I mean, at one point, we're hearing stories about the fact that people were saying, oh, she was having sex behind the bleachers at school. But then in the story, we find out the only man this woman has ever been with was her ex husband, which is why she went back to him when she was lonely.
True.
And so until she and Cole start playing footsies, well, that wasn't all they were playing. But until she and Cole start playing, genuinely, the only man she's ever been with is this man she ran off and married.
Yes, that is
You
so
know.
true. And I think that's
Hmm. Hmm.
interesting because it speaks to a lot about the dynamics that young girls and women face. And one is your reputation, and the other is who you really are.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. And we see that play out with Sydney. She has a reputation as this wild child, very disruptive
Yep.
to the community, to the family. And she even admits like she was a kid who needed lots of attention, and that hasn't necessarily changed for her as a woman. And I think that's something difficult for a character to admit. Even Cole says Sydney needed a lot of attention.
And you know
And
what though? But we understand why.
yes, we do,
We understand why.
but to say it is something different. To say it, to say that you're hungry for touch, to say how lonely you are. And she says these things. It's
Hmm.
one of the things that really endeared me to this character, how open she is emotionally to
Hmm.
what she needs, that she just puts it out there. Like,
Well,
I need this and
she
I'm not getting it.
she evokes a lot. I don't know if you ever read the book My Sister's Keeper by Jodi
Jodi
Picoult.
Picoult. Yes,
She
yes,
evokes very much that character of I am the spare parts version of my sister, and my
yes.
parents want me to be that spare parts person for her, and I want to be more than that. And
Hmm.
I feel like I think we understand that her sister died at 13, and it's been 18 years or something to that effect since that happened. And she is very much caught in this cycle of feeling like it was her fault.
Yes.
But she not only feels that it's her fault, she feels like her parents blamed her. And
Hmm.
it's very telling. She returns to town. She spends one night in her parents' home before she goes and rents a place to stay because
Yes.
she doesn't want to be with them because they have not made her feel like even the first discussion about her
Hmm.
not staying with them is about what people will say, not about we want you here. And I
Hmm.
thought that was interesting. And at one point in the story, we even find out that this mom of hers that she never really talks to, like there, I think there's like a week or so goes by after she leaves the parents, and she never talks to her mom.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really interesting that that she not only hasn't spoken to them, but her mother has spoken to her ex-husband. Like,
So okay,
okay,
okay, I'm glad you brought that up
like whoa.
because my husband and I, we were eating breakfast when we got to that part in the book where her mom says, well, her mom is pretty much like the ex-husband in that I don't understand why you left him. Like the man was providing for you, you had a good home, you had a good life, you're so impulsive, you're doing things, and now you're pregnant with by him, and you should have never left him in the first place. And she's like, what? Wait a minute. Back up. You're saying too much. And I was the same way. I'm like, Mama, I love you, but you need to shut it down.
It
This
was
is what I'm
really
thinking,
hard to
right?
watch the relationship between her and her
Her
parents.
her and her parents, period, but really with her mom though, because this is your daughter, your only daughter, and she's pregnant, and she came home and she's alone, and you telling her what you think. So I'm gonna say right
Yeah.
now, Mama need to shut it down because when she disclosed, well, I called him and I've been talking to him, and this is what he wants. I'm like, oh, this is
Yeah.
not gonna go. Look, even my husband, he had the fork to his mouth. He stopped. He's like, oh, what did Mama do?
Did
I was
she
like,
did the mother ever once ask her, "How are you feeling?" I
no.
kept thinking, "Wait, did I miss something? Did her mom ask her, "How are you feeling? How's your pregnancy?" "Oh, I had those symptoms." They were like there was none of that mother daughter
Yes.
pregnancy camaraderie. There was none of that, like, um that sense of telling her daughter how excited she was that they were going to have someone new in their family. I mean,
Yes.
the closest we got to that was that her mom ordered her some clothes, but it just
Yeah.
felt off
But
a little. Yeah.
what I appreciate what the writer did is there's it's just not ideal. And that's reality
Mhm.
for some, for some children, that you don't have the best of relationships with your mom or your
And
dad or
it's
your
not even
parents.
good.
and and she shows this in vivid detail what
It's
that
very
looks like.
vivid.
And I must admit, it is hard to read when your mom says, and so I have to ask, what did you think of the role that, you know a parent plays when the relationship is over and you reach back to a former son-in-law? How did you really process that? Like, is it right, wrong? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because I have some feelings about it.
So I have a lot of feelings about it. What I thought was brilliant, is that we have this on both sides with both male characters. We have Cole's former mother-in-law who's still mothering him.
Hmm.
And not only is she still mothering him, she's looking out for him. She is putting food and beer in his refrigerator and
Wants
making
what's
sure
best for him.
he eats. She's telling him she's worried that Boney is not attractive. I mean, she goes all in on him.
Cole losing weight, y'all.
Yes,
He's
and
not doing the
right,
best
he's
without his
boxing.
wife.
He's constantly boxing. He's at the, he's in the gym, like taking it out on the bag, which
Hmm.
also helps for him to have a beautiful physique. But
Yes.
his mother-in-law, his former mother-in-law, and it's weird because you can feel that she's carrying a lot of pain too. She lost a lot as well, but she has found a way to love. Like, she makes a comment of loving the time she had her daughter more than than thinking about the time that she's missing her. And I thought
Right,
that was an
right.
amazing revelation to have that character be so solid in that. And
Hmm.
then we have Daniel, who has misplaced a wife. He hasn't lost a wife, he misplaced her in having his wife divorce him and then leave him. And here we have Mama Collins pretty much siding with him on this, saying, you know, she's talking to him about the baby. Oh, you can understand why he's upset. Never once did it occur to her. And I'm thinking, the first thought I'm having is, oh, you must have, my first thing is, oh, you must have been so excited about seeing the baby you
Yes.
forgot. Like,
Yes,
she
mine too.
never addresses that. Um, and that was really strange. I okay, so here's a question for you.
Okay.
When our character Sydney is going to her appointment where she is going to find out whether she's having a boy or a girl,
Yes.
her best friend Leontine, I love that name,
Yeah.
is supposed to go with her. And Leo, girl, she brave chick. Leo calls her brother, who has
Because she
lost a
can't make
wife
it.
and baby, to go to this appointment. And it's already it's thrown Sydney, the protagonist, off like, oh no, you don't need to be here for this. So one, he's walking into this, and she's like, I don't want to be responsible for hurting you. But he's walking into this situation and stepping in as like this, you know, husband
Pseudo.
role, pseudo
Pseudo
husband,
support.
father role.
Yeah.
And I was just curious if you thought, because I went back and forth with this in my, oh my, is he too good to be true? He's
Yeah.
good. He's really good. Like, he's earnest, he's kind, he's braver than, at that
Yes.
point, he's braver
Yes.
than a man
Hmm.
in
And
his
I think,
position would be. I was wondering, I'm like, is this guy too good to be true? Because he's really good, you know.
yeah. So first of all, I figured out Rose Bend is a pretty unique place, because if I ask you, my girlfriend, to come to an appointment where I got to put my legs in stirrups and you send your
Show you
brother,
goodbye.
we probably will have words after my appointment. But I
Mhm.
thought it was something that Cole made the decision to go.
But she called
Yeah.
him though. That was
Yes.
big that she would
Yes,
even
it was huge
call
that she
him.
called, but for him to go because he knows he's struggling, like physically and emotionally, in Sydney's presence. And he is trying his best to limit his time with her. But
Yeah.
what I love about it is
He's
he
trying.
he knows he puts what she needs above what he's been doing to
All the
cope.
more. Is he too good to be
Yeah,
true?
he does that. He does that a lot. But I see him doing it from the very beginning. Like even when she was moving into the place that his family owns, and she's up on a step ladder putting
He like
glasses
get
away,
down.
he's like, "Get yourself down." Not only when she doesn't move fast enough, he puts his hands on her hips, which he will forever remember the shape of those curves. And he physically takes her down, and he's like, "What do you need me to do? You go sit it down, and I will do it." So he's
Yes.
very
Yes.
attentive, and he
Yes.
pays attention. He's paying attention from the very beginning. Even
Mm-hmm.
when his brother is like talking about what she looked like at 18, he is not okay. He got his little fist balled up and he like squeezing the water bottle and he's like, I can booker you up if you say some more.
Yes.
So he is very protective of her. But I
Mm-hmm.
thought what was interesting for Sydney, and I know she's, a woman who needs someone there. She wants someone there. This is
Yes.
a woman who, even though she acknowledges she can do it by herself and she has the money to do it by herself, she doesn't have those type of stress.
Mm-hmm.
She wants somebody with her to
Mm-hmm.
share this experience of
Yes.
bringing this child
Yes.
into the world.
Which is why she's back in Rose Bend to begin with, because she thought she
Yes.
could do that around the people that she knew would keep
Yes.
them safe, especially the
Yes.
baby safe.
Yes. But for her to let him stay in the room while her legs in stirrups, y'all.
Well, Dr.
So
Preload told him to get in the corner and not to look
yes,
that way until she told him to. Otherwise, I can't remember what the
yes.
word she used on him
But
was.
but she reaches for him when she sees the baby, the shape of the baby on the ultrasound. Like she
Hmm.
reaches for him and holds on and
He
he
takes her
squeezes her
hand.
hand
Yeah.
back. And I'm like, oh, these
Because
two
you're
are in
thinking
it.
this moment is killing him
Yes.
as much as he is like
Hmm.
living in it. It's like a dream and a nightmare for him at the
Yes.
same time.
It is.
Yeah.
But he
Hmm.
doesn't
Hmm.
let go of her hand. It's her who pulls back once she realizes what
What
she's
she's
doing.
doing. Yes.
Yes, she
Yes.
pulls back because she's like, this has to be hard for him. He's
Yeah.
lost his wife and child. He doesn't need me leaning on him like this. But yet
Yeah.
he puts himself there. Like when she looks up, y'all, he's like right above her face. Like she can like feel his breath, like caressing her
I think at
skin. Like
one
he's
point her
right there.
forehead is touching his chin. Was it in that scene?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Very
yes.
evocative. So
Yes.
evocative.
So
Yeah.
Jackie says, and her internet is acting crazy, y'all. We miss you, Jackie. But she says, at that doctor's appointment, we get a glimpse of the father Sydney so desperately
Mm-hmm.
wants in her life. Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was something. So Sydney's folks, they are well to do. And her father
He's a doctor.
is a doctor, and her
Mhm.
mom is a business owner, and she's been a business owner since before the girls were born.
Yes.
So she's an established business owner there in
Mhm.
Rose Bend. And
These are
the
not under wealthy people. I'm gonna say
yes,
it that way.
yes.
These are not
So
unwealthy.
her dad, so she's got her dad, and she has this man, a friend,
Man friend. She
a
got a
man
man
friend.
friend.
Friends don't let friends get ultrasounds alone. So they're both in the room with her, and it's
Yeah.
emotional for both. Like her dad is like, you know, a granddaughter,
Hmm.
and she's got Cole holding her hand.
Can we go back for a moment before that
Yes.
appointment when her baby first flutters and she's with Cole when it happens? And he
Yeah.
almost doesn't know how to stop himself from wanting to touch her. And I thought that was really interesting because I'm going to tell you, all right, so I'm telling on myself here. And I think I text Siera at the same time. This is my first book where a character is pregnant and is having all of the firsts and the emotion and the touching and the discoveries with someone who's not the actual father of the child. And so
Mhm.
this was very interesting to me because this is the first time I've read this because we don't usually see, at least I have not in other books seen the intimacy of another man being so involved in the caring and growth of a baby that was not his own.
Yes, yes, and
Yeah.
they are very sexy, y'all.
Yeah. So by the
They
time we get to this appointment, we've been there with them
yeah,
already.
yes, they are very sexy. Um, there's a couple of other relationships I want to explore. So we've talked about, Sydney and Cole. We've talked about Cole and his family. We've talked about Sydney and her family. Let's talk about Sydney and the Mean Girls at
Jenna.
26. Okay. So, okay, y'all. I understand high school rivalries. I understand Mean Girls. I understand, the in crowd, the out crowd, but I'm 26 years old. You not gonna punk me while I'm
Jenna
up here trying to get an
Landon.
ice cream cone.
Jenna Landon is a piece of work.
Yes. Now Sydney's been gone from home, y'all,
10
for
years.
10 years. The first time Jenna sees her, she's out minding her own business with an ice cream cone. Okay. And here comes Jenna with mean girl drama. Oh, and she got a posse with her. She got another
She
girl with
still got a
her.
posse. Single with a
Yes.
posse.
Single with a posse.
Mad because you got married and came back.
And literally, I was blown away by this scene with these two grown women approaching Sydney, getting in her face about her business, not their business, because
And
Sydney's not minding
Sydney
anybody's
reminding
business but
herself
her
that she's
own.
pregnant and that she shouldn't lay nobody out. I'm like, okay. How
Ah,
Sydney?
and I was like, okay, the men of Rose Bend I could deal with. These women, they need a rework.
Okay, and so in the same mean girl spirit, because I'm gonna
Mhm.
call him a mean girl, we have Jenna's father, former Mayor Landon.
He a hater.
He's not just a hater, he is like troublesome, as my grandma would say. He like pot salt, as we say in the Caribbean. He got his nose in in the middle of everything.
Everything.
They got the minutes for the past meeting. He got hold up the meeting, pretending like he's reading them, even though he's been had these notes. If they say we want to do something for the children, oh no, that money is not for that. I mean, and then we find out that he'd been the mayor for a long time. He
Hmm.
constantly made campaign promises and
And,
never fulfilled them.
and never fulfilled them.
And now here we have, Cole comes into office and driven by his grief and the need to work, he has done all of these things. He's like ticking off boxes. And former Mayor Landon is still acting like a mean girl with his own little posse in the city council.
Yes, very much so. And
Wow.
I'm like,
Like we know
and
how Jenna gets it.
yeah, and I mean, we don't want to like stereotype like small town dynamics, but you really see it at play here where these behaviors that really we should have outgrown, a decade ago, and they continue because guess what? We're still in this small mixing bowl. And I remember what you were like. But in reality, all these rumors and things they've said about Sydney, talked about, like they're not true. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, there
Mm-hmm.
are rumors that she nor her family really have worked to correct about this child, who's all grown up now. This whole like
And
she's
Sydney doesn't fully
promiscuous, she's this,
care.
that. She's none of that. She's a virgin when she went to her marriage bed. Yet
Mm-hmm.
there's rumors about her, taking on, the team behind the
Yeah.
bleachers or whatever. And these things just are not true. And then you have these, these mean girls, and she's been away from home for 10 years, and you
Mm-hmm.
all up in my face
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
much attitude talking about things you know nothing about, like me and my marriage and my baby.
So there's a certain, I thought it was interesting. We have Jenna's father, the former mayor, trying to take down Cole Dennison, the current mayor, trying to take Cole down because he's just angry that somebody else has this job that he'd held for so long and didn't do anything with.
Yes,
And then
and
we
Cole's
have
doing a
Jenna
great
on the
job.
outside causing trouble with Sydney. And in essence, her father is causing trouble for Cole, but she's outside trying to get in Cole's pants,
Yes.
you know. Um, so that's one aspect of the issue that we're dealing with these two. But I'm curious, how did you feel about the driving conflict between Sydney and Daniel? I mean, Sydney has left. Daniel's not happy about it. He's talking to her mother, so he knows she's okay. And then he announces to her, and this
Yeah,
is
we're not gonna disclose all of that,
okay.
but
All right, we can't go there. But
uh,
I thought, what did you think of the driving conflict between Sydney and Daniel, and how Sydney was reacting to that?
yes,
The
yes.
emotional toll of that on Sydney.
So I know you had said earlier you felt like Daniel was not controlling. I don't know if I had
That's
that
when he
same spirit
truly.
about Daniel. I felt like he was. So this is a man who he's more attentive now that she gone, y'all, than she was when she was with him. Now he want to be all up, giving her direction, instruction, what he want her to do, how he want her to do it. And when she doesn't, he blows up. And I'm like, look, dude, I've moved this way and you have moved another.
He moved
Okay.
on.
Okay, and I ain't gonna tell you the book, but yes, he moved one direction, she moved another. Yet you're making demands on me. So now let me add this. He's not making any effort on her on his part. He is demanding things that he wants her to do. So I had a problem with Daniel.
So did you
I
feel that his okay, so without saying too much, because we don't want to give anything much away,
yeah.
were you satisfied in how the resolution of issues between Sydney and Daniel came about? I won't lie, I was like, oh, I was kind of surprised it happened
Hmm.
the way it happened, and it happened in the amount of time in which it happened. I was kind of surprised by that. We're not going to give it away, but all we'll say is that there is a level of resolution between Sydney and Daniel, and I was not expecting it.
I was not either. I
Hmm.
was not either. I would say actually both actions took me by surprise.
Oh, I know which other action you were talking about too. I was
His
like, what?
and
What?
her,
What?
yes, both
Yeah.
actions took me
I was
by
like, oh, we're
surprise.
going there.
So, Mr. Austin and I, like
Catnip.
I said, we were listening to it. We did not see that coming.
Didn't see it coming. I had that moment where I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, how did we
like,
get here?
like, okay, did not, and it didn't. Okay, I don't want to say too much. All I'll say is the way it came about and the person behind it coming about shocked me completely, because I would have never expected that person to encourage such behavior.
Yes,
Is that clean and clear without being clean and
yes,
clear?
yes,
It's like,
yes.
whoa.
Yeah, I
Like,
was
didn't see that coming. Didn't see
no,
that coming.
no, I did not see it coming. And honestly, y'all, this book, I'm gonna say this, and Michelle, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong. But this cute little cover with the little bridge and the flowers and the
There a lot going
sunset,
on behind
there's a
those cute
whole
pictures.
lot of drama. A whole lot.
Hmm.
This book could be on daytime soap opera.
That river
There's
in the back cover run deep,
run
deep,
deep. Yeah.
deep.
There's a whole lot of drama in this book and a lot of twists and surprises that you would not see coming.
And let me say how masterful Naima Simone is. We get like she has drawn us a beautiful small town. And then she throws me because this beautiful small town hosts a motorcycle
I know.
festival every year. And it's a big deal for the town. And usually, when you're thinking small town, you're
You
not
think
thinking,
you
you
thinking
know,
farmers
we
market,
thinking
strawberry
bake sales,
festival.
farmers markets. Yes, we're not thinking motorcycle clubs and the
Yes.
motorcycle. There's a motorcycle bar at
Yes.
the edge of town, which I did find hilarious that the owners of the bar invited her to come up, even though she was only going to be able to have cranberry. They offer her free drink. I'm like, keep your cranberry and save me a real drink for when I'm ready. I was like, how you gonna offer a pregnant lady a cranberry and be like, yeah, that's on me? No, offer me the hard stuff and tell me to come. I could come by anytime, but tell me that the first hard drink is gonna be free.
I like
I
both.
did find that was funny.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
it was
yes.
funny. Now Jackie says, she says, now she's talking about Daniel. She says, yes, he was more attentive to Sydney. However, he still felt the need to stress the educational background of the new woman in his life. He did. He was a butt.
This is true.
He
This
was a
is
butt.
true. He does mention her credentials mean a
A
lot.
lot to him.
A lot.
He is.
And yet,
He
you know what's interesting? We never found out what Tonya did for a living. I
That is
did we
true.
know? I have no idea.
I don't know.
All I know is that Tonya was going to be an amazing mom.
Mm-hmm.
But I know nothing about what Tonya did for a living. Like, but it almost seems like he has to explain. Now, we are 2 years out from the start of his grief. So we're two
Yes,
years
Cole.
in
Mm-hmm.
for Cole's grief. Did you find that did he seem stuck to you? And did his willingness and unwillingness to get too involved feel like he should have been past that? Was it, I mean, there's no telling a person how you're supposed to get
Right.
past grief, but it's his grief is very heavy and it feels heavy throughout.
It
And
does,
I wondered about that.
but I will say this. Cole and Sydney are young people.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind, both of
He's
these,
a little older than her. He's a
but they're
couple
still
years
young
older.
people. And they're both struggling with losing their first love. Sydney in the form of her husband. This is her first real love. Cole is in the same place. I don't know. Some of y'all, we might have to think far back, but think about losing your first love. And I don't mean just they pick somebody else. Like Tonya
Yeah,
and
it's
Mateo are
gone.
gone forever.
The plans he made for his life are,
Forever. And guess what?
yeah,
Cole even says that he was living his fairy tale with them.
he does.
He had exactly what he wanted.
Can I tell you the truth? I would
Yeah.
never go near that man.
Yeah. Yeah. He had
I
his
wouldn't go
fairy
near
tale
him
from the very
because he sounds like
beginning.
the kind of guy who will never fully be
Okay.
okay.
And in the book for a while, I really didn't think he would be okay because he was so where he
So
was in
hurt.
his grief, y'all, is where he wanted to be. Cole was not making any moves to move past it. He was like, that was my family,
Yeah.
and they are gone, and I'm not moving on without them. And since they can't
Making no
move past this
plans,
point, I can't move past this point. And he was
working
very
24
comfortable with that.
7 and beating the hell out of that boxing bag.
Right. And guess what? As big as his family was, and his family is like the total opposite of Sydney. So there's some opposites going on, even though everybody's grieving. They could not move him past this point. Nobody, no brother, no sister, two mamas, two daddy, nobody could move him past the point of where he was.
I thought it was interesting that he was the person, in essence, who makes the biggest forward stride in their, creating a relationship. And then he's the one that runs first and fastest. I thought that was very interesting that he
So,
he went all in and then he was like, "Oh, I got to get out."
but okay, let me ask you this. Can you really be all in if you've already put up emotional barriers saying I'll only
And
go so far? How
which
can
is
you be
what
all in?
surprised me about him and the way that he went about, like sort of went like okay, so there are times when it felt like he was very much moving forward in this relationship, like when the first day of the festival, when old mean girl Jenna rolls up on Sydney, and okay, he fixes that. Okay, but hold on. I know we don't have a lot of time left, and we've been talking very deeply about the struggles for this character. But can I tell you about my favorite side character?
Yes, you can.
Eva Wright.
Okay.
Every town has an Eva Wright. This the lady on the council setting the former mayor straight, calling him a straight fool in public. And then she breaking up fights between Sydney and the Mean Girls. I loved her because she
Okay.
did it. She wasn't heavily used, but when she was used, not only did she make sense, but she never seemed out of place. And my first thought, this is so crazy, but my first thought was, oh, I hope I get to see her again in the future books because she
Okay.
was so much fun.
All right. Since Michelle shared her favorite character, I have to share mine. My favorite character was Mo, who
Okay,
is
Cole's mommy.
yeah,
Okay.
her name is Thomasina, but they call her Mo. And I the, I knew when she came on the page I would like her because she said, "I brought you in this world. I could take you out." Well, y'all know
She
she adopted
adopted
Cole,
him.
right? So
He's like, wasn't technically right,
like,
but mm-hmm.
but he believed that she would take him out if he
Yes.
said the wrong
Let us
thing.
be respectful to Mama Mo.
Yeah.
Yes. Let us be respectful.
So, and I love that when he and Sydney, when their relationship goes off the rails, he goes to his Mama Mo.
Mm-hmm. And it was
And
interesting that Sydney turns to her parents as
mhm,
well.
mhm,
But I was glad, and it's not giving anything away to say this. Sydney and her parents, from the first page when they meet, need to
mhm.
have a come to Jesus conversation.
They do. They do.
And it's not initiated until Sydney is the one that initiates it. She goes to them and tells them how she is feeling, and she's very clear. And I was really grateful for that because I really wanted her to address the elephant in the room about her mother's relationship with her husband, and them having her ex-husband, and her
Mhm.
having a almost stronger relationship with him.
Yes, yes, very
and
much so.
and not ever fully acknowledging how difficult it would be for someone to leave everything behind.
Mhm.
Everything. She left her hometown. She lost her sister, who's supposed to be her best friend. She lost her real best friend in the sense that she picked up and left town at 18 and is now coming back. And you never fully felt as though her parents fully and truly welcomed her back. Instead, I think her mama was like, "What are you doing here?"
Yes, yes. I would like to say that I like Patricia.
I
Uh,
didn't.
that is Sydney's
Sydney's
mama.
mama.
Patricia, you are not invited to the barbecue.
Unless you get the good potato salad
Mm,
and nobody else brought
drop it off.
it.
So,
Uh,
so Jackie says Cole was stuck, but subconsciously he was ready to move forward, but his conscious mind wasn't ready. And we see this throughout the book. I agree. I
mm-hmm.
think from the moment that he touches her in chapter one, that's what terrifies him.
Because
That
he's a
there's a part of him that's
faithful
ready to move
man.
on.
I think there's that, and there's also the level of this man is so faithful that even the idea of moving into a life that doesn't include his wife and son means that
Mhm.
he's in essence like cheating, and
Yeah,
he's almost feeling like he's cheating because his life was supposed to be done when
with
theirs was.
them.
And it's very
Mhm.
interesting when we realize that everybody knows what's happened to him, but nobody ever really talks about it. So our main character is not aware of his story.
Yeah, she gets
Ah,
blindsided more than once
a
in
couple of
this,
times.
and maybe it's my personality. I don't like to be blindsided.
No, nobody
Um,
likes to be blindsided.
so
Nobody
maybe
wants to
what
be
I mean
lacking
by that is
information.
I'm not as understanding when I'm blindsided. I know nobody likes it, but I'm the person that says, "You let me get blindsided," and I don't like that. I think that's what, like, when the big blow comes for them, I was so upset with him. I was so
But
upset with
you
him.
understood it too. Like that's the hard part with his grief and his situation is that you understand the fact that he's grieving. Like I get it. That's the most painful thing you can go through in the world. And so you understand his being stuck, but at the same time you're like, dude, if you're falling in quicksand and you can't get out, please do not pull me into your quicksand with you. That is unfair.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree. So, all in all, any final words? We got about a minute left on the
This
road
was a
to
definite five
Roseman.
star read for me. Her writing is so beautiful and
It's
evocative.
superb.
These stories are very, very emotional. I knew we were going into an emotional love story. I did not realize it was that strong. Of how
Yes,
strong. I can't wait to read the next one. I haven't read the short story at the end of this book yet with Cherry and
yes,
Maddox, but
yes,
I look forward to it.
yes. And Jackie loved the book, and I think it's isn't it Jackie's month to pick our book?
Oh, Jackie, did you pick
Jackie, did you
something?
pick a book? She's in the comments, y'all. So if you want to leave comments on today's show, be sure to go to the Women on Words page on Facebook, like the page, follow the page, leave your comments. Every Thursday, we are live on the air with author interviews, and our next author interview is with author Kelly Violet. So we go on West Coast.
Okay.
Hey, hey. So we're going West Coast. So we're going West Coast, and our next book is Like No One Else by Maureen Smith. So we'll see you
Okay.
back
This
on
is
the
new to
third
me.
Sunday of the month at 3 p.m. for Women on Words Live Book Club for No One Else. Like No One Else by Maureen Smith is Jackie Renee's pick, so she'll be leading the discussion. So until next time, be awesome, be amazing, be wow, and we'll see you back for Women on Words next Thursday at 7 p.m. for author chat. Bye now. Thanks, Jackie.